dared to stare, unveiling the shadows of fear on fear files.
The dimly lit bar was quiet, save for the soft hum of conversation that floated on the stale air like a whispered secret. I wiped down the worn wooden counter, my fingers tracing the familiar grooves and scratches etched into its surface by years of use and abuse. It was late, far later than usual, and the only remaining patron sat hunched over his drink at the far end of the bar, his presence casting a shadow over the empty room like a harbinger of doom. I approached him cautiously, the hair on the back of my neck standing on end as I took in his appearance. His skin seemed to be peeling off in places, revealing the raw, red flesh beneath with each movement he made. It was a disturbing sight, one that sent a shiver racing down my spine like icy tendrils creeping ever closer with each passing moment. But I pushed aside my unease, forcing a smile onto my lips as I approached the man with the same practiced ease that had served me well over the years. "Last call," I said, my voice sounding hollow and empty in the stillness of the night. The man nodded, his eyes fixed on the glass in front of him as if it held the answers to all the mysteries of the universe. I poured him another drink, my hands trembling slightly, as I watched him lift the glass to his lips with a slow, deliberate motion that sent a chill racing down my spine like icy tendrils creeping ever closer with each passing moment. And then, as if from nowhere, he spoke. His voice was soft, barely more than a whisper, but it cut through the silence of the bar like a knife, sending a shockwave of fear rippling through my veins. "You know who I am," he said, his words hanging in the air like a curse waiting to be unleashed upon the world. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to make sense of the madness unfolding before me. Who was this man, and why did he speak with such authority and conviction? But even as the questions tumbled through my mind like a whirlwind of confusion, I knew the answer deep down in the depths of my soul. He was the devil himself, come to claim his due. I stumbled backwards, my hands shaking as I fumbled for the phone tucked into the pocket of my apron. But when I looked up, he was gone, vanished into thin air like a wisp of smoke on the wind. And as I stood there in the darkness, alone and afraid, I knew that I had come face to face with something far more terrifying than anything I could have ever imagined. For in the end, the devil walks among us, his presence lurking in the shadows just beyond the edge of our perception, waiting to claim our souls for his own. And as the last echoes of humanity faded into the night, swallowed whole by the darkness that had become our only companion, I knew that our world would never be the same again, forever changed by the horrors that lurk just beyond the edge of our reality.
I woke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to make sense of my surroundings. The air was thick and heavy, suffocating me with its oppressive weight as I blinked against the darkness that surrounded me like a shroud. Panic gripped me like a vice as I realized that I was lying on a cold, hard floor, the chill of the stone seeping into my bones as I tried to push myself upright. But when I tried to move, I found that I couldn't. My limbs felt heavy and sluggish, as if they were weighed down by invisible chains that bound me to the floor like a prisoner in the depths of some nightmarish dungeon. I fought against the paralysis that threatened to consume me whole, clawing at the air with desperate fingers as I struggled to free myself from the darkness that held me captive. And then, with a suddenness that sent shivers racing down my spine like icy tendrils creeping ever closer with each passing moment, I realized where I was. I was in an abandoned prison. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut, stealing the very breath from my lungs as I took in the sight of the crumbling walls and rusted bars that surrounded me on all sides. How had I ended up here? What had happened to me? But try as I might, I couldn't remember anything beyond the suffocating darkness that enveloped me like a shroud, obscuring my memories with its impenetrable veil. I tried to call out for help, to scream until my throat was raw and bleeding, but no sound escaped my lips, save for a hoarse whisper that echoed through the empty corridors like a mournful cry in the night. I was alone, trapped in this hellish prison with no hope of escape. My only companions, the shadows that danced at the edges of my vision like ghosts in the darkness. Hours turned into days, and days turned into weeks, each passing moment stretching into eternity as I languished in my solitary confinement, my mind slowly unraveling like a frayed thread in the fabric of a reality. I tried to find a way out, to claw my way to freedom through the layers of darkness that surrounded me like a suffocating blanket. But no matter how hard I tried, the walls seemed to close in around me with each passing moment, trapping me in a prison of my own making. And then, just when I thought all hope was lost, I heard it. A faint scraping sound, barely audible above the pounding of my own heart, followed by the creak of rusty hinges as a door swung open with a deafening crash, flooding the corridor with blinding light and revealing the silhouette of a figure standing in the doorway, their features obscured by the brilliance of the sun that shone down from above like a beacon of hope in the endless expanse of the night. I reached out towards the light, my fingers trembling with a desperation born of years of solitude and despair. But before I could grasp it, the figure vanished into thin air like a wisp of smoke on the wind, leaving me alone once more in the darkness that had become my only companion. For in the end, I realized that the prison was not made of stone and iron, but of my own fears and insecurities, a reflection of the darkness that lurked within the depths of my soul. And as the last echoes of humanity faded into the night, swallowed whole by the shadows that had become my only companion, I knew that I would never escape the prison that I had built for myself, a cage of my own making, bound by the chains of my own creation.
I walked the deserted streets alone, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the cold, hard pavement like a mournful dirge in the stillness of the night. The darkness pressed in around me like a suffocating blanket, wrapping me in its icy embrace as I made my way through the silent city, my senses on high alert for any sign of danger lurking in the shadows. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as a chill raced down my spine like icy tendrils creeping ever closer with each passing moment. I glanced over my shoulder, but there was nothing there save for the empty streets and the silent buildings that loomed over me like silent sentinels in the night. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw them. Slender shadows darting and weaving through the darkness like wraiths in the night, their movements fluid and graceful as they stalked me from the depths of the shadows. I blinked in disbelief, my heart pounding in my chest as I tried to make sense of the surreal sight unfolding before me. Who were they? Where had they come from? I quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing off the walls of the deserted alleyways as I tried to put as much distance between myself and the mysterious figures as possible. But no matter how fast I ran, they were always there, lurking just beyond the edges of my vision like phantoms in the night, their presence a constant reminder of the danger that lurked in the darkness. And then, as if from nowhere, the storm broke with a fury that shook the very foundations of the earth, lightning arcing across the sky like tendrils of fire as the heavens opened and unleashed their wrath upon the unsuspecting city below. Rain lashed against my skin with a violence that bordered on the surreal, the wind howling through the streets like a banshee wailing in the night. But even as the storm raged on around me, the shadows remained, their presence a sinister reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of our perception. I knew then that I was not alone, that I was being hunted by something far more sinister than anything I could have ever imagined. For in the end, the shadows always win, swallowing everything in their path until there is nothing left but the echoes of what once was, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of our own demise. And as I stood there in the darkness, alone and afraid, I knew that I would never escape their grasp, that I would be lost to the shadows forevermore, a forgotten soul adrift in a sea of endless night. Thank you for braving the unknown with us. Until next time, stay haunted.